Hello everyone, I've just finished episode 5. We're waiting for episode 6 to drop on Netflix. So let's get in because it's going to be a long video. Let's introduce some people. We introduce Moon Kanta's friend, played by King Ka Kun as Jo Jong-soo, who was also in The King Eternal Monarch. I reviewed that. We're going to hear a lot of people. TVN apparently hires the same people. I wonder if there's kind of like a long-standing contract, because there's a couple different TVN players involved in this series. Then we have Kim Joo Han as Lee Sung In, as Moon Young's publisher, who was also in Designated Survivor 60 Days, another one that I reviewed. His assistant is played by Park Jin Joo as Kan Seung Jae, who was in Backstreet Rookie. So let's go into it. We start off exactly where we left off. Excuse me. Kantan and Ms. Koi, they meet up in the rain. He takes her and tries to get into a hotel. It turns out, through obvious occurrences with her trying to get him to confess to her, and the hotel guy basically making sexual comments like, "Oh, you guys are gonna do something," that they find out both of them ran out with no money. So at first she says, "Oh, let's go to my house then," and then over a period of time they decide to go to his house. He makes an excuse so that no one comes upstairs, and his brother stays with his friend, played by Jong-soo, who is Jong-soo, the other name of the friend is Jong-soo, and over a period of time it goes back and forth. So she tries to seduce him several times, but then nothing happens. He gets frustrated with her. You're introduced to a chart that many autistic people use. If you don't know, autistic people have a problem with understanding expressions. Well, not expressions, but emotions. Stuff like sadness. We kind of, through movement, from our eyes, from all that stuff, we infer certain things. It's not just sounds and stuff. It's a whole different. There's a lot of mechanisms to come into different sadness and stuff. Autistic people have an issue with reading people. If you've ever watched The Good Doctor, that also has a great representation of autistic people. And the spectrum is kind of high and low. Actually, his brother is on the lower end of the spectrum, meaning he can't take care of himself. The guy on The Good Doctor is higher in the spectrum, obviously. And there are people who are so high on the spectrum, they're almost off the spectrum, and you don't really notice them being on it until, certain things, just as understanding emotes, facial expressions and understanding stuff like that. That's something that autistic people have an issue with. And so the chart is something common. And so he alludes to maybe, she's autistic, and that, the reason why she doesn't connect to people, which is a long-standing thing, why relationships with people who are autistic sometimes can be difficult, because they have to work harder for them to understand you, and the other way around. Is that the reason why? And she regards that as no, that's not how it is. So, next morning he you get a little bit of understanding is that one of two things happen. Overnight, Miss Co's father has an attack, and it feels like he's choking. It seems like the ghost, which I think is the ghost of her mother, hovering over her, uh, comes and chokes him. And so that is the running thing of the ghost in the hospital. But it's the witch or whatever. It's the spirit, I guess, of the mother. And she and the nurse, which is, I'm sorry, everyone. I would love to say, Namju, Namju is asked around, and she, one of the nurses kind of says, like, you actually know her, but you don't know her. Either you want to get to know her because you're, you want to be her friend, or you are overly emotionally attached to the client. That's what we call it in psychology, the client. And they use actual words, which I'm very happy about. They use actual words that people use in psychology, and that's really great in the exact way. It seems like people actually ask somebody in counseling or basically in psychology about a lot of these things. So I'm very happy about it. I may actually do a breakdown of all the stuff and autism for this show. And but comment on below if you feel like a breakdown from an actual person who has a degree in it would be great. I'm always enjoying learning, and I think everybody would enjoy learning, and it would maybe help in understanding some of the things that they're probably going to tackle. Then in the morning, the nurse comes back. Drew and finds Miss Co is there. They have an argument where she basically says, "Oh, you like him, and why I like him," and they go back and forth, and basically they get physical. They start fighting, and he walks into and yells at Miss Co, and then everyone else in the house finds out what's going on. His brother yells at him about lying. Like he did earlier, which he actually hits him because of that. And it's one of those things where the nurse lays down and complains to her mother that, I want him to like, and the mother basically says, you gotta fight for things that you want in life. The reason why you exist is because I fought. So you gotta fight. If you're fighting against her, then you gotta fight. And if he says he doesn't want you, fight some more, because it's more of the best woman wins, not the weak. The weak never win. You're acting weak right now, crying in the corner because he doesn't really see you as a sexual being, which it happens in a lot of these things. But let's be real, she's the second supporting character woman in the show. It's unlikely that she wins in the end. But at the same time, some of these shows, no one wins. So I'm actually trying to see how this works out. Because, to be perfectly honest, this seems really unhealthy. He seems very attracted to her, but she is, like, really emotionally abusive. So later on, the brother, she goes to the hospital, stuff after the brother starts to do the mural that he started. He got commissioned by the director. And so she picks him up after after her director of the publishing company and his assistant come and basically said, the guy that you pushed down the stairs, and if you didn't watch that, that's exactly what happened. He came back, he wants money. Everybody needs this money. I'm broke at this point because I had to pay everybody. You need to finish this new book. We need to publish this. We need to hurry up. I'm not leaving until this stuff gets done, because basically this company is over if you don't continue. She's like, okay, I got an idea. So after she comes to the place, she meets the brother, and she's like, okay, if he's holding here because it's important for him and his brother, if I grab the brother, then stuff can happen. So she gets into this idea, oh, you want to hang out with me? And obviously the brother, because he loves her books, comes to the house, and she basically gets him drunk and have him sign an illustrator deal where he has to stay at her house while he's working. And then she calls him after he comes and tries to pick him up and says, where's my brother? She goes and says, okay, I have your brother. You just come to my house. It's the cursed castle. And he's like, oh, okay, I know exactly where you're at. And she's like, how do you know? And so you finally figure out that the moment that he, at first when you watched it, he alluded to the fact, excuse me, that you know, her eyes reminded of somebody, and she obviously remembered who he is, but she assumed that he didn't. And in a flashback, you see that at first she really liked him, but something happened in translation. And excuse me once again, cats. I have irritations with my cats, and my cat decided to put his whole body into my face. That she rejected him, and it broke his heart. So then he basically tells her from the from the moment I met you, I knew exactly who you were. And, you know, that surprised her. She's like, what? And so he walks up, just like he did before, up to the cursed castle. And that's how they end the episode. It was really good. There was twists and turns. Side note, he rejected the nurse when the nurse actually tried to say, oh, I like you. But, you know, he said, you know, at this point in my life, I'm just gonna be a Rolling Stone. I'm not never gonna love anybody really like that. I'm just he's resigned himself to be the caretaker of his brother until he dies, or at least until his brother dies. And so he's decided he cannot have enough. And his friend said, you know, you can't be with her. She's toxic. And he's like, I know that, but in a way saying like I'm still drawn to this toxic relationship, and is really toxic. Like if you were in this kind of relationship in real life, I would be like, man, you need to get away from that girl. That girl crazy. You're gonna, you know, have some real psychological problems dealing with that girl. But it was a really good episode. I can't wait till the next one, because obviously there's gonna be way more twists and turns. Like and subscribe. Obviously we have the contest. Once again, the people who are for May and June, nothing happened. So for July, where I'm gonna pick from YouTube and Instagram. So comment, follow. If you're not a subscriber, you cannot win. So it's new subscribers, it's old subscribers, anybody like that. Comment, like, follow. You can follow both places, more about the same amount of videos, but you know, it's whichever platform you enjoy. And hope you guys have fun, and I will see you next time. Bye.